you at the end of the day, only you know your program and know what you're doing. And today's day and age, man, people will tear you apart, and every little bit. At the same time, if there's 100 comments, 5 of them could be negative, and you could let those get to you, or you have your 95 that are really good. So
ladies and gentlemen, you wanted it, you got it. The place for the untold, real, raw, and juicy stories of dirt track racing. It's Dirt Track Confessions. And now here's your host, Mandee Pauch Mahaney.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dirt Track Confessions. I'm your host, Mandee Pauch Mahaney. So today, now I'm pretty sure you're going to have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but we have a pretty kick-ass, right, 21-year-old over here joining us on the show today, straight out of Southern Oregon, who it's just mind blown. Okay, went from outlaw car racing, you still dabble in it.
Yep.
In sprint car racing, who I always jokingly like to say, man, you've become like the overnight YouTube success. But a lot of people, I really don't think realize, like, I'm pretty sure you've been doing this for like a good 8 years. So Tanner Holmes, my man, welcome to the podcast. I am so stoked to have you on and really dig into that brain of yours. But how are you? What's going on over there?
Thank you. Yeah, no, doing good. We're kind of getting close to the end of our season here, so things are winding down a little bit. But this weekend we're racing with the World of Outlaws in California. Just trying to stay busy, start planning, what our off season looks like. I mean, as you know, racing's a full-time thing, no matter what, whether you're at the track or not. So there's always something to do and in preparation that needs to be done. So we're just trying to kind of do all that so we can, finish this season strong, but, already looking ahead at 2025 and what our goals are and what we want to accomplish.
Dude, the season never ends. It feels like it ends, but it never ends.
Oh, no, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, I mean, no matter what, like I said, whether you're, we're a family operation so we do everything, we're not, we don't just kind of show up and drive, we get the rig to the track, we service, we race, we wash. So it's kind of never ending. And luckily we've kind of still built our own team in a team, but it's still, so there's just a lot that goes on to make sure we just get to the races. And, that's most of it. I always say that it's a lot of work for, 15 or 20 minutes of fun every Saturday night.
Dude, isn't that the truth? Total side note is, this past weekend, I went to Maple Grove for the NHRA Nationals, and I'm like, you see them hustling, like they're changing the motors like after every 6 seconds, right? Like they go down that strip for 6 seconds. I'm over here like, man, I complain about all
Literally.
that. At least we get to do like 30 or 40 laps.
Literally. No, it's I mean, dirt racing there's nothing like it. That's what's so cool about it. And it's also a world that's so closed off. Nobody knows about it. So that's a lot of, like with what we do is just sharing that story and sharing the ins and outs, because even, your most diehard race fans don't have an idea of what it looks like.
Dude, preach. Yes, I am so excited for this. So Dan and I were kind of briefly talking before we started this, and I told him, I'm pretty sure this is he is my first YouTuber, I mean, other than myself, to power on the podcast. So we're definitely in for a treat. Now, tell me, dude, how did you even come about starting up your YouTube channel? Like, I don't even want to think how young you probably were when you started your channel.
Gosh, so I started in 2016. I started, just creating videos, and I actually started before that. I just didn't upload my first couple of videos. And what that looked like was, actually I was a big fan growing up of all the famous people, right? Dude Perfect, and watching videos like that. I was a 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid. Like whatever was the exciting thing on YouTube is what I was watching. And at the same time, I was, racing myself. And so as I started to watch these people and I realized how unique what each of them did was, I was like, man, I wonder if what I did would be, people would look at the same way, right? Like I would watch these people do trick shots, or I remember watching this kid that, I never was into trampolines and flips and whatnot, but these people, they did all these crazy stunts, and I found myself gravitating towards it. Just as a kid. And I started realizing, and then of course, when you're young, you hear how these people make all this money, creating videos and stuff like that. And so there was that side of it. And then at the same time, my parents kind of, I feel like did encourage me a little bit. They maybe saw that I you don't realize it when you're young, but I naturally could speak, at least okay. Like I, maybe had a talent to where maybe one day I could public speak or, just talk to an audience. So that all kind of combined together to where it built me up with enough confidence to put myself out there and make my first video, which was, I think, September 3rd, 2016.
Oh
So
my
I
God.
posted that and immediately, got a little bit of feedback. Scariest thing ever, right? Posting your first video. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. I realized that I enjoyed it. And so I went to that weekend, like there was 2 nights of racing. So I made a video each night. I posted them. I actually don't even remember. I remember I posted my first video and I gained like 20 subscribers. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. If every time I post a video, I gain 20 subscribers, I'm going to be at the top soon. So it just kind of was one of those. And like I said, just snowballed totally. And from there, just I quickly realized I enjoyed it. And I basically, once 2017 rolled around, by then I'd probably made 10 or 15 videos. I was like, I'm going to try to post at least once a week. Like once,
Yeah.
even if I can post twice a week, like I'm killing it. So, and then from there on out, basically, I don't know if I've ever missed a week since then. I mean, maybe, here and there, I've always posted something. And then now, of course, obviously, as you upscale what you do, like, you're posting a lot more in a lot of platforms. And what was a small video each week then now has turned into a lot more. So it's just pretty crazy. And it's cool also how YouTube's evolved. It's changed a lot. And you also as a person, you just change. So, and you bring people along for that. So people get to see all that and kind of through the highs and the lows. But that's how it started, was back in 2016. And those early years are rough. You don't realize they're rough when you're doing it. You're just having a good time, but you look back and you're like, wow, that's pretty bad, but you got to make it through that. And then you kind of form your content into what is, what it is now. But yeah, no, like you said, people always say like, man, everything's so overnight in this deal. And a lot of things in life, it's just not.
Yeah. And like I've noticed is it could just take one video
Yeah.
that will set your channel up, and you've been planting the seeds for 8 years, if not more, and I'm the same way. My goal is like at the bare minimum, one video a week. Like I
Yep.
always say, like, have to stay in the forefront. You have to you got to feed the people what they want. So that has me kind of curious because I know for me personally, when I started, I was like trying to feel out what was sticking to the walls, right? I was like trying all different ideas and then obviously filtered to where we are today, which I feel like we're pretty similar. But in the beginning, and I mean, I'm sure still now, like what kind of obstacles, you know, did you feel like you were facing?
A lot of stuff. I think one was just, I think people don't, you don't, I don't know, maybe nowadays it's more common, but even like when I first started back then, there was not really, like, it wasn't a known thing for people to walk around just holding a camera. So I think like there was that awkward part of it. And I won't lie, that's hard to, like, you have to get over that mentally. How to like how to do that job and not mess up and say what you want to say while there's, a group of people around you. I mean, and they're all doing their own thing. It's not like they're all just watching, but a lot of, at the time, they are watching because it's a newer thing, right? It's like, what is that guy doing over there with a camera? So there's that side of it. I think that's and I got lucky. I felt like I overcame that pretty fast. And I just was like, all right, if you can zone in on that lens and start talking and doing your thing, then it's no problem. So like, I think that was an obstacle early on. And I think anybody that does what they do would be lying. That's still an obstacle here and there today. Like, you just have your days where sometimes you can't say a single word right. And some days things just flow. And that's probably more myself, because I'm like a very perfectionist with how I like put together a sentence when I'm talking. I don't ever want to sound like, I don't know, I just want my video to flow. So if I don't say something right, I have no problem saying it again to try to make sure I nail it. So I'd say like that was a big obstacle, but then also just teaching yourself, like, how to upload, like literally how do you upload a video, and how do you, I remember, I think it took me 10 videos to figure out how to make a thumbnail. So I had to do that. And then, how to save the thumbnail, and then like how to post it, and like, oh, I made it in the wrong ratio, so it didn't fit, or there's
Oh
black
my God.
bars around it, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So little stuff like that you have to overcome. And then like just as you improve your camera equipment, like my first couple of videos, I just like didn't have that much racing in them. Like it was just me talking. But then like all of a sudden I figured out how to put a GoPro on my car, and it's like, all right, now people can kind of ride along with me through the races. And then I was like, all right, well, what if I put two GoPros on, so you have two angles? It's a little more entertaining. And then, oh, now I have someone that's also filming the race, so I got three. Like, just how you step up that side of things. And And then also like how, like I said, just how your videos start out simple and you always find a way to make them more complex, and that's not always better, but that was, things that just happen, right? You just try to make things more entertaining. And people nowadays have a very short attention span, so it feels like on YouTube, if you're not like literally cutting nonstop every second from a different angle, people are not watching. That's just kind of how things have gotten more competitive. But so yeah, I would just say obstacles like that, like literally building it, not like having someone next to me that's like, here's how you do this, here's how you do that. My side of things was more, okay, well, I don't know how to do something, I'm looking it up, I'm figuring it out on my own, and just kind of riding that wave, and just taking all those steps. I don't want to say by myself, but kind of by myself.
You are. I mean, you essentially are. It's not like there's someone that has paved the way in our sport. Like I'm gonna put us in this category. Like we are setting the foundation
Yeah.
for everyone. Okay, I'm not saying like Tanner's just you and I. There's plenty of other racing YouTube channels out there.
No, but you're right. You're totally right. Especially like definitely like I would say making like the template, and what
Mhm.
what it does look like. And everyone is cool, like, because everyone has their own style to it, and then also all in the different forms. But yeah, like to me, I just quickly realized it was important what I was doing. And one, because I enjoyed it more than anything. That was like I felt like I was like, man, this could be my I just knew with where racing is heading and how difficult our sport is. Everyone is so talented, and everyone also has very similar equipment. So, we're all spread out by less and less. So for me, I was just trying to, it kind of started too with like, how could I be different? And with this, other thing I can do that can add a lot to my team for my sponsorship and building, my family has also always just tried to, you know, do our own program. I've ran for some other people and done some different driving, but a lot of it was just like, hey, if we can have our own cars, if that's the best thing, then let's just try to do that, so then we can race when we want to race, we're in control. And so what I did with my channel has really helped that as well, just to be able to grow and add on to, because people really want to get invested in our program. That's a way to tie them in and also get them in front of more eyeballs.
It's so funny you said that. Okay, you're gonna make me feel old right now. Okay, and that's like unacceptable. But I remember it was like I'm gonna go with like 15 years ago that I made maybe it was a little bit more, but like I made a Facebook page for my dad. Meanwhile, like he didn't even he didn't Tanner, he didn't have Facebook until about a year ago. Okay, and I made
Yeah,
this page like 15 years ago, and like I kept preaching like if you do not have social media as a race car driver, like you are going to be left in the dust. Like as a sponsor, like they want to see the market that they can tap into. And so for the
absolutely.
longest time, like my husband, he still hates social media. He's like, I just want to race the car. I don't want to
Yeah.
have to like deal with all these people. And I get that. But unfortunately, that's like you said, like that's where we're going. And if you want the backing, you want the sponsorship, like holy crap, like now you gotta have you not you don't have to, right? But like you
No,
having a YouTube channel, that's a huge bonus.
no, I preach it to people all day long, and I feel like people probably don't want to hear that because I don't know, obviously it's a lot of work, but seriously, that's just what I tell people. I'm like, does it matter too that if some people are already doing it, there's a reason that other people are starting to do it. And like you kind of have to you're either going to follow and you got to like make your own thing, or you got to make your own thing in some way. Like, just racing nowadays is so tough. Like I said, without having, it's a lot less nowadays of, yes, going out there and driving the car. And obviously for most of the diehard fans and stuff, I get that that's frustrating, but like at the end of the day, the world's going to go how the world's going to go in a circle, and you either got to get on or get off. So I just think, yeah, it's like I said, it's just the age that we're in. I think a lot of, other sports are that way as well right now too. How many athletes are, giving an insight on their life and what it's like, because people want to see that, right? They don't get to see that. I would never know what it's like to be an NFL play, what the ins and outs of being an NFL or in the MLB or these other leagues. And even more than anything, you don't see what it's like to be a dirt racer.
Yeah.
Everyone sees the 15 or 10 minutes of glory, but they don't see the rest of it. And eating at a truck stop at 2 a.m. or breaking down on the way to the races, or trying to sling a couple T-shirts every night to make sure you made some money. Like whatever, it's just the life. So
Dude. Amen. So relatable. So relatable. So okay, I kind of want to turn off of the my obstacle question because YouTube or not, like there's gonna be I'm gonna call them critics,
Yep.
right? Like they're gonna watch you no matter what, but they're still gonna have something to say. Like how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a hard one. So I've kind of formed my own way, and I actually don't think I have the best method yet because I do have a lot of great fans, so you don't want to miss out. But like for example, on my YouTube channel, probably anymore, I just don't read the comments anymore. But I don't want to like turn them off because I don't want people to feel like I hate when almost like silencing people. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. But like my comment section's there, but I don't spend time in my comment section. There's just and like I said, I feel bad because there's a lot of like good comments too. Usually the few that I read are just what pops up in my notification. Like on YouTube, you have your notifications and you briefly get like it will show like the first part of the comment, and so I have an idea if it's about to be good or bad.
Yeah.
So I kind of just look at that, and from time to time, if anything catches my eye, I might click on it, read more. But for the most part, I honestly just don't read them. And the same goes for my Facebook page, which I monitor and do a lot. So I just kind of read if there's something interesting, I'll click on it, and I spend a lot more time on there probably too because there's just I don't know there's just for whatever reason there's just kind of a lot more people, a lot more content. You're just kind of seeing what people have to say, but otherwise I honestly I really just don't look too far into it. I think if you're looking for good stuff, you can find good stuff. If you want to really find bad, you can find bad, and that's just kind of how social media is. So for me, I just found that it's best I just try to clear my head from that, especially and honestly, as far as my video stuff, I really don't care what people, good or bad, what they say about if they like my video or don't. Like that to me is whatever. Honestly, if there is any comments that mean the most is like when you're not running as good as you want to. Like for me, it all comes down to how I am as a racer. That's what I really care about when if there was anything people are saying, which like I said, for that you just have to not look into it. But if you're having a good run, it's really cool because people are like, man, you're doing so well. And then if you're struggling, it's like everyone is kind of an armchair quarterback, and you're like, all right, I just don't. You at the end of the day, only you know your program and know what you're doing, and so you just have to stay laser focused on that. And so yeah, that's just kind of how the approach I try to take and works for me because in today's day and age, man, people will tear you apart, and every little bit. So, but like I said, at the same time, if there's 100 comments, 5 of them could be negative, and you could let those get to you, or you have your 95 that are really good. So we have our normal people that are there no matter what. So I really try to just put emphasis on that.
I think we would make good friends, dude, because I'm ignorance is bliss. Like I understand we need to monitor that stuff. Like, dude, there's words on our Facebook page that are banned. Like if someone tries to comment it, yeah, it ain't happening. Like, no, like this is our safe place. This is our haven. Like this is our page. We can control it, But I tell everyone, I'm like, you have to blinders on, because like you said, out of 100 comments, one could be negative, and that's gonna ruin your entire day.
Yeah,
Like so why let that in? Like you're doing your thing, and the people that want to enjoy it are gonna enjoy it, and everyone has an opinion, absolutely. But
for sure.
I'm actually the same way. So I actually hired someone to monitor our comments. Meanwhile,
Oh,
she's
okay.
actually related. Yeah, she is related. So sometimes when we have a bad night, she's like, I can't do it. I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah,
Like,
for
y'all
sure.
have
For
to,
sure.
you know?
Well, and
But
what I do too, which is great, or how because like, yeah, I would say I'm a very like calm person. Like I said, I don't let some of that, like, it takes a lot to like, if you really get to me, you probably laid down a comment that was really good. You know what I mean? So what I also usually is I'm just like, when I have people around me or whatever, because yeah, family's the same way, right? They read a comment, they're like, they're so upset, they just want to go comment or something. I'm like, hang on, just give it a minute. Usually a fan or something will step in first and they'll take care of the problem. Someone's going to shut the person down. So there's
yeah,
just like, don't waste your own energy on it because there's someone out there that is also sitting on their couch that's a fan that's going to take care of it. So that's kind of how I always looked at it. And usually, and then all the fans are fighting in the comments, which honestly, and then you just start laughing because people are just going at each other and whatever. It's a mess. But and you obviously don't necessarily want that stuff on your stuff. It's just, it happens. And when you have a following, like, there's just no way around it, and there's so many comments to monitor, like it's never gonna be perfect. So it's just, I
no,
usually just let the fans are either gonna wipe it out or it's gonna be, and it's just gonna be. So
yeah, they're probably gonna set them straight, a thousand
yeah,
percent. Yes. Yeah, like I always say you're not everyone's cup of tea. You know what I mean? Like we're not here to make everyone happy. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately for the ones that like don't like what we're doing or want to leave a comment, they're watching our videos and they're making us
Yeah.
like that's on you, dude. That's on
Absolutely.
you.
No, absolutely. That's the whole comment deal. It's like I said, it's never ending, and it just kind of is what it is. But it is tough in today's day and age, and that's where I do try to give advice to people that are starting out, or when people ask me, like I'm like, you really just have to power through that, because nowadays, whether it's you're going to choose to do this, or if you have your own business or you have anything in life, like people are just going to critique you down to nothing. So you might as well, you just that's something in today's day and age, you really just, and it's hard, like I said, but you just got to try to have thick skin.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? This kind of like tying together here because you mentioned figuring out thumbnails in the very beginning, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know about you, but thumbnails, I could do without them. Okay. So I have like a major love-hate relationship with them.
Yep.
I definitely want your 2 cents on them because I've definitely shared with my followers, my listeners, time to time of like, unfortunately, a lot of the YouTube, the content that we pump out, like people want the drama. They feed on the drama. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it could be a great Friday night, Tanner, and you get third. And it's like, whoop-de-doo, who's going to want to watch that? But if you flip and you like dramatize the hell out of it,
Yeah.
oh my God, it goes insane. But like, I have a feeling you and I are very similar where we don't want to ruffle feathers. But at the same time, it's like, but how are we gonna get people to watch this stuff?
Yeah. No, I absolutely. I definitely I can relate. Like it sucks that the videos that have done well on my channel are same thing, it's a crash or it's something, and it's this big like question mark on the thing, and like there's a car coming and you see like it's just the whole like yeah, and it sucks, like those videos are going to do well, but it doesn't feel like a win or something for your channel because a video did well because you crashed or something happened to you. So like yeah, that is the unfortunate part, and like I totally can relate. Like you could have the best night, you could have what I would say is a solid night at the races. Like, hey, you ran well. And there's like literally nothing good to really title it besides that you ran well. And like you said, people are gonna like that video is not going to perform as well. I don't know. Like you really have to get creative. And that is the hard part about what we do, especially and what like when you talk about obstacles is like, man, when you're posting 130 or 40 videos a year, like it's hard for them all to be like different when they're on the same topic. And people do, I think, like the consistency of it, but there also is the side of it. It's like, man, it would be cool if you could make something that's just not, like luckily we go to different racetracks, and you can kind of incorporate the different sceneries, and sometimes we're racing with high limits, sometimes we're racing with the outlaws, but still, like there's it, it's not, at the end of the day, like it's the same job. We go to 70 or 80 races a year, and like luckily for us in the wintertime we are racing the cart, so that's a little different, and some people really just like to watch that, some people just like the sprint car, but still at the end of the day, like it's been the same journey from the last 8 years for me. And so yeah, it's just that's probably one of the hardest things, and like something as I've gotten older, I've really contemplated, like, man, how could I do this differently? And how do you make your thumbnails look different and stuff? It's just, yeah, it's a complete mess, and no one thinks about that. But that's like one of the hardest parts of this job is how to do that, because at the end of the day, like like I said, there's over 1,000 videos on my channel, and it's the same template, start to finish. It's just trying to keep it entertaining, and some nights dirt racing helps you make it entertaining, and some nights it just is what it is, and it's more your job. So
Oh, dude. Yeah, spot on. So I actually a few years ago, we were before we started recording, we were talking about like collaborating with other teams and drivers that are on YouTube and stuff. And I failed to mention, Tanner, is that a few years ago, I tried collaborating with someone like he was involved in racing, but like his channel had nothing to do with racing. And
oh, okay.
what he taught me, he was like, going into the night, like into recording, he had like it all planned out of how it was going to go. And it's like, we can't do that. I'm
Yeah.
like, Tara, it'll be the end of the night. Like I said, I don't know, we'll finish 10th. And I look at Mike and I'm like, can't you just do something fun for me to record?
Yeah.
Like, I got nothing. Like, do I make stuff up? I don't know. Like, I hate to say it's cookie cutter, but it's like you unroll the car, you warm up the engine, you go out for time trials. Like it's the
Yeah.
same thing. And yet here we are. It's like, okay, how can we add more to it to entertain these people?
For sure, no, and it shows how much of an addiction it is too. Because like, so the last, like we had a couple weeks, at the end of August, like we came back from Knoxville Nationals, and we just had a lot of great speed. You know, we hadn't been out in Knoxville a lot. Like we honestly maybe could have made the Knoxville Nationals if things fell right. Like we were at least close. We weren't just overstating that. Like we could have maybe been close to making the Nationals. Then we came back at home and we were racing out here with High Limit and some big series, and for some reason we just got on the struggle bus. Like things just weren't, like things didn't feel right, not feel comfortable. Like I have no idea why. Like places that I thought I would have been more familiar with, like all of a sudden, like it just didn't click. And so it's funny, ran a couple weeks, and then I was like, all right, well, we're gonna just take a couple weeks off because we're just, we need to regroup, this and that. And but it's funny then, like the first night you're not at the races watching, after you're just like, you have this hate relationship with racing. You're like, all right, I really could not do this for a little bit and be okay. It's like you want to be at the track. You like want to be at the track, and like you said, the same thing. You're just there to fire up the engine and just hot lap and qualify, and that, like, all right, 2 laps on the clock, like you got to go, like so it's just crazy how that is, like so it's funny, as much as it is so repetitive, like, man, like you said, that's just, people want to see that as well. Like they just over and over and over. And the diehard fans of our sport, what keep it going. But man, yeah, it's any, like, as we run so much throughout the year, if I'm not at the races, like my mind just can't stop, like, well, what would I be doing right now? How would I run the track? How, this and that. So that's just as I think, I always love what I always watch what Kenny Wallace says, and he just says racing's a disease. Like it's just a disease. It just is. Like we don't know why, but it's the worst.
Yeah, it's the worst, but it's the best.
Yeah, I know. And it just keeps you coming, like just keeps you coming back for more every time. And and racers are the worst in that way. Always trying to get more out of your car, always trying to get more out, like more on the track. And like some point there's not more to get. Like you're right there at the top at the end. So
So I would like to say that because like I feel like you and I were very similar with what we pump out there, right? We talked about it, but also different in a sense, because obviously you drive the race car, right? I've got the race car drivers doing that.
for
Now
sure.
I do obviously feel like there is a little bit more with our mud turtles here in the Northeast, like maintaining and all that stuff. Where like this sprint car is so blessed. I was telling my husband that the other day. I'm like, sometimes I do wish
Yeah.
it's because oh, the maintenance program is a whole different ballgame. But like, you know, you're not just creating content. You're racing. You're thinking about how to improve the car. Like you're maintaining the car. It's like the family car, you're doing the editing. Like, do you have like you kind of did take note. You mentioned that you have someone like videotaping the racing, but like, do you have anyone helping you with this stuff?
Yeah, so this year I tried to, like this year I probably took the biggest step I've done in that, and then maybe the end of last year too was like I would, so it's kind of already went in waves, and as like I said, you build what you're doing. So first thing that came to my mind is like I definitely need help, and like luckily my family's at the races with me and stuff, so I could always hand a camera to like I have an older sister that was there a lot, and so she mainly filmed my races just on like an iPhone, so I have it one to watch back, but then like I would just include that in the video, and like it's very important to have that outside shot because you can see everything that's going on. The onboards too in dirt racing, like a lot of times they get covered and they're useless, and so especially, yeah, and that's the biggest struggle too. Or they fail, the cameras overheat, it just happens. So it's like I always have to have someone filming on the outside. So I always had that from a young age, which was really nice. But it spiraled into, I'm like, all right, I really need someone that just can do anything that I can't do. When I'm like, when I'm racing and stuff, like I can't get obviously all these shots. So I was like, well, at the same time, I probably can't really afford to have someone go to each race with me and like travel. Like that's a big expense. Like usually you're going to have to, maybe you could find someone for a good price, but still like they're going to have to be with you. And we always already have a pretty big crew. So just adding someone into the chaos, like, I don't want to do that to someone too. So anyway, so what I did is I was like, all right, well, every night when I go to the races, I put out this thing, and I called it like the Tanner Holmes fan experience. Basically, what it is like people would come to a fan would come to the night. They would submit an application or whatever beforehand, fill out all their info if they have any experience filming or anything. And even if they didn't, then I'm like, all right, I'll just train them when they get there. They get there a couple hours early. I'll be like, all right, do this, just make sure the camera is recording. Like that's all you got to do. So So I called it like this little fan experience. And so throughout 2023, as I went to different tracks, like I would just find someone in the area, they would come out, I buy their pit pass, feed them during the night, and they would just hang out and like, get them a t-shirt, and they would, totally get to see how we do it. It's way different when you're actually there. You see the video, but the video is 15 minutes, a race night's 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people I think actually enjoyed it. And then also it was a win-win. Like they got a hell of an experience. They got to meet our team, be one of us, and just see that, and then and also too, like, a lot of times I formed friends with these people, and if I was in the area again, they'd come back. Or like I said, some of my closest friends that actually are, really good at doing videography and stuff, I've met through this. And so that's how it started. I first got some help, and I was able to, like I said, I couldn't really afford to have someone travel and pay them and stuff. So I just did that. And some nights was good and some nights was bad. Like some nights you have basically nothing to work with. And the camera is like, you're like, oh gosh, okay, well, that didn't work. But some nights, you have some footage to work with, and more just to help. Like I do all my talking. I know exactly what needs to be talked about. And then like their footage just kind of filled in. So then it just wasn't so like, you know, point to
Mhm.
point to point throughout the video. Like it just felt a little more like you're there. So started with that last year, and then did that a little bit this year, like I said, just because I was like, man, I can't really have someone. And then actually recently, I just happened to meet the right person, and they came and helped me for most of my summer. So I had a consistent person, which helped make my videos better, of course, because, they know what we're needing to do. And, just getting all the right shots. And like I said, not just so like like I said, hand a camera, make sure it's recording. Just please get me anything you can. So that was my system. And so yeah, in the future, I'm wanting to have someone more consistent. Luckily, I've been able to grow my stuff where I do, but I still do all my own editing for the most part, or for all my YouTube videos, I edit everything, which I'd like to pass that off to at some point. It's really hard to let that go, even though like at the point I'm at, I really don't like editing. Like I'm kind of over it. I won't lie. After 1,000 videos, you're like, all right, like, because that's the same thing too. It's, you're editing the same thing over and over. And
Mhm.
as things are going good or bad, on track, your videos are good and bad. And so there's all that too. But, for me, it's way greater having help. You get people's ideas, you get to expand, you get to hear what others have to say. As much as, when you're so involved in it, you feel like you would know everything. You do, your own program and operation, but having just outside opinions mixed in can actually in some ways help, and just make things different and better. And like, trying to, like I said, trying to make everything better than what it is.
Okay, kudos to you, because involving the fans to do that is brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, it's that it's shady, but it's like, okay, the videos might not be perfect every night, but involving them, like, I love that. I
No,
love,
that it worked out really well, actually. Like I said, a lot of nights, like I met people that I was like, you know what, it was a good trial too, because I met some people that I was like, man, maybe if I can, once I can add someone full time, like now I have a group of people to also pick from that I've already seen what they can do. Because like I said, I'd meet some people that were like hidden gems that like, oh my gosh, like, they got me footage and made me edits and did all this stuff. And then, I have some funny stories. Like I had one night where like I had a guy that we pulled in, and he was in the parking lot, and he was there waiting. I told him like, hey, I was gonna, have him come film, and it just totally didn't end up working out. Like he was the one parking everyone at the races, and he was missing a bunch of teeth. Like I kind of got catfish, let's say that. Like
yeah.
it wasn't actually a fan. I don't know. Like he was smoking a cigarette the whole night, just standing in our pit. So you have things like that don't work out. But yeah, like I said, just a great experience. And that kind of is what helped me lift into getting more help, and in doing that. And like I said, now I had a friend of mine named Matt who was super consistent, helped me all season. And then, now going into the winter, I'll probably do a lot more, all my go-kart stuff is smaller scale. So I just kind of do, throw the stuff together myself. But then going into next year, yeah, I'll have more help. Just, you kind of have to, the nights are too crazy to not.
Mm-mm. Dude, yeah, okay. I feel all of that. All of that and then some. So, it kind of has me wondering, like, okay, there's a lot there that I wanted to like pick apart. 'Cause I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, relating to all of this is like you mentioned is the editing part. Now I'm in the same boat, but like the control piece is like I know that would for me on my side, that would save me. So I don't know about you, but it takes me for a regular night. I've got it down to 2 hours from everything
Yeah.
from uploading, exporting, editing, uploading it onto YouTube, scheduled, done. Like,
That's pretty
I,
impressive.
thank you. I can do it in my sleep. It's that bad. But mind you, okay, that's 2 hours, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's 2 hours I could give to someone else. I could spend my 2 hours doing something better. But at the same time, giving someone that, not that leverage, but that piece of like, okay, well, if you said something, like you're very strong with what you talk about and how you present yourself. Well, if you said something like things were happening and all of a sudden you're like, you send that person the content and you're watching it in the video and you're like, I didn't want them to put that in there. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like there's a fine line. So like how long does it take you to edit a video? And my what I'm really curious to ask you is like how much like of a precedence do you put on yourself to get it out like as soon as possible?
Yeah. So, man, a couple things there. So first, my problem, since I'm probably more in the seat, I get more behind with my videos, and they're like, man, I embarrassingly like this like I just literally got caught up. I've been behind the last 2 months
Mm-hmm.
because when you just race 5 days in a row, like, and no one is editing, like for me, it takes me a little bit longer. I would say if I'm a perfect video on a perfect day, I would say I'm more like 3 hours. And that's like I'm just all in. But the problem is I am definitely more of a scatterbrained person. I probably have I have ADHD or whatever. And so like I have a hard time like just sitting here and just editing straight. Like I almost edit, I feel like in portions. Like I edit for a little bit and then like I have to go do something else. And then I have to edit. And like I wish I wasn't really like that, but I just have a hard time really getting focused on it because it just takes so much time. And like I said, it totally depends on the night. Like all of our best videos, our best nights, like I could sit down, edit those. But like, man, when you have more of a rough night, you don't have as much, you're like, all right, I'm totally dreading that I have to do this. Like this sucks. Like now is when I really got to get in gear and just focus in and just get, because once you get through a video and it's just behind you, like you don't even remember you posted it. Like it's totally out of the memory bank. So that's like the best once they're finally behind you, because your bad nights in racing in general, you want to forget about anyway. So so there's that side of things. But yeah, I would say like I'm probably about 3 hours. I'm probably about two of the editing, and then it's about 45 minutes to an hour uploading, thumbnail, all that. And more than ever, I've been trying to put more emphasis on thumbnails, but it's just so, man, that's such a tough ball game too. Like
You
I'll have
have
a
me
thumbnail that I
curious.
think, yeah, I have a thumbnail that I'm like, all right, this thing is going to crush it. Like I probably got 1 million views incoming in the next 24 hours. And then it's a 10 out of 10 video, in flops, which, if you don't know on YouTube, basically it ranks your last 10 videos and tells you. So you have that battle, which is a tough one. That's a tough one to fight. But yeah, so I would say I'm 2 to 3 hours to edit stuff, and yeah, I do get behind quite often, and that's what I'm working on. And I think if I added someone to help would be big, because I think that obviously sometimes videos just perform well if they're fast. Like if people could watch exactly how your night went 30 minutes after your night was done, like it would be a hit, right? It just doesn't work. The world doesn't work that way. There's no way. But so yeah, so there's that side of things. And that's why I've tried to, expand into other, like, we post a lot on our Facebook page, and I always try to do a little, just a recap on my cell phone after the night, because then people can watch that and get that a little bit quicker. Because people do want to hear, they want to see it all. They want the ins and outs. They want to hear you talking your setup, why were you not fast, or why are you fast? What are you guys doing differently? And so all that stuff. But it is tough when that's how much actual work it takes to get all that out, then all of a sudden a week later people aren't as interested. So I'm working on that for the speed of it, because that is big.
Okay, so I'll give you my little tidbits here is, I mean, if you're not driving the trailer, you can probably pull this off. But as soon as the races are over, like we're pulling out of the pits, I start uploading the footage. I'm like, I just put on my laptop. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, Tanner, I will edit until I'm falling asleep. When I fall asleep, I accidentally delete stuff, I move stuff, and then
Oh
it's just
shoot. Yeah.
that happens far too often that I care to admit. But I'll do that. And then first thing in the morning, man, I'm getting up like, depending on what we're doing. Like if we're racing Friday and we're racing Saturday, I'll wake up like, I don't know, 7 o'clock. I'm like, all right, if I can bang it out in 2 hours, I'm done by 9. right? And that's, I feel like that is so important. And I'm not to like dig on you or put pressure on you. It's like people want to know what happened yesterday. Like you said, like if you can get it out
Yeah,
that fast, it incredible. But a lot of people also don't realize like it's you, it's me. We don't have a whole team editing stuff here. But if
yeah,
you can get it out that quick, because if like Mike just raced this big race, and it's like if I don't get it out in, I don't know, 2 days, like you said, like I didn't time.
for sure, for sure. No, and that's I'm working on that. And my every year my goal always is like get them out a little faster. And I think um props to you that you can do that. Like my problem is like I feel like I don't necessarily like I need to work a little better and like in the dirt racing environment. Like I'm super good when I'm here at a desk and I'm in my chair and like I can just, all right, man, let's just pump out stuff all day long. But like when you're in the RV going up and down the road and you're hitting bumps and you're taking turns and it's 1 a.m. you haven't eaten or whatever, and then you're just like, all right, I just want to just fall. Like I can't. And then you got to wake up the next morning and do it all over again. And by the time, like you said, you do all this stuff, like I'll be in my merchandise trailer, or I'm helping a little bit on the car. I'm just, staying up to date with the crew. There'll be some days where I walk in at like 5 o'clock to race and I'm like, shoot, I haven't even really talked to my team about like what we're like, they obviously have it taken care of and stuff. That's good. But it's like things like that. So, yeah, no, that is definitely the hardest, like easily the number one struggle is the speed of it. And yeah, so I mean, like huge credit to you. I'm really working on being able to do that. And I think if I even, I've talked about if I just had someone that could just lay it out for me, get all the, because that's some of the time too, is just loading all the footage in is, 25 minutes or, and then, like I always have so much stuff on my computer, like you run out of storage and then you're back and like, it just, anything that interrupts your workflow then adds to it too. And then you're like, all right, it's already interrupted, like computer shut, time to go do something else. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I am working on that. And that's a huge struggle in what we do. And I think a lot of people don't, that's another side they don't see.
Yeah, I mean, dude, if you're 2 months behind, Tanner, and that's 3 hours per video, I wouldn't want to edit those videos either.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, and you're always working, and then too, you're always working towards other stuff, right? In the future, and then it gets really difficult if you are trying to post on other platforms. Like for me, I do try to be diverse. So if on race day, on our Facebook page, if we're pumping out 10 or 12, like we're pumping out 10 or 12 posts a day on Facebook on our race days, and then on other days we're still 6, 7, 8. I really try to use Facebook as well because I feel like there's a different market than who's on our YouTube, and I feel like that's really important. So I really try to put a lot into that. So that's almost like a whole second channel in a way, right? Because you're anytime you're on another platform, it's not just like you're posting the same stuff. And it's easier. Don't get me wrong, because it's pictures and small videos and reels, but still that takes time. So yeah, anytime you're getting your stuff split up, it's easy to have too many roads go in different directions, and then one gets dropped or forgotten.
No, I actually did see that. So I'm so excited to pick your brain about this part too, because you're talking about you don't have the time to let alone edit the videos. I'm curious, do you ever have time to study? Like Tanner, like I've seen your stuff, I've watched some of your stuff, but like I always every week I'm like I'm gonna set like an hour, just like 1 hour to go see what other people are doing, to see what's working. Because like I thought it was interesting, like you said, is like I saw you got the camera and you're doing a quick recap of the night, or you're actually uploading the full video to Facebook, and I'm like, okay, like he's trying different things. And dude, we're recording this in September right now, and I'm like scrolling back, I'm like, does he ever not post?
Yeah.
Like you're on it, and you're tapping into the different platforms. And so my question to you is like, you're trying different things. I saw you're playing with a 360 camera. Bless your heart. Like that thing drove me nuts just editing that. So do you have time to study and get ideas?
It's funny. That's another fault of mine, is so I always just keep adding to my list, and there is studying on the list. I just haven't gotten to it yet, I think. I
Yep.
just always add, but no, I would like to. In a perfect world, I would like to every week to spend that time, and that's probably something more in the off season. I do a little bit more,
And
and so I think I'll have kind of that chance. In the heart of it, I really don't, and it's something I want to do more, even in general for my job racing. Like I try to do as much as I can with that too. I mean, just watching film and how to be the best race car driver. But then it's a whole nother deal to do it for this. So yeah, main thing is I always feel like I just try to experiment a lot and then go back and kind of look and see what worked. And you know what? Actually, I'll say I do study. I just probably don't necessarily block out time. It's just more like I said, I just try to pick up on things. And that's kind of where I've definitely tried to post a lot more on Facebook. And a lot of that was just, I guess you could say from studying and noticing, to me, it seemed like that's a platform that, people aren't necessarily talking about a lot, but man, there's just so many people on there, like YouTube and it seemed like they want to have more creators on there. And a lot of that was picking up from watching some other people on social in the dirt racing world, like for example, Rico Abreu. I noticed he was putting a lot into his Facebook page, and it seemed like, man, it just driving tons of traffic. And so definitely try to keep an eye on what other people are doing, and always kind of keep an eye out too for like you said, the 360 cam, like some other camera gear. But at the same time, that stuff can also make your life a lot harder. So you got to be super careful in that side of things. Yeah, you can have something, but if it's adding an hour or two to your workload, then like that doesn't really work either. So just try to I always try to use what's like the best stuff for the best price that makes it the easiest, to where if I'm using it, or like I said, if I have a kid with me that needs to use it, like they can hit record and just get the shot and it's done. And then we put that on that computer and get that thing done. So that's kind of been my system, because you see people at the track that have these big fancy cameras, and that's all good and all until like someone has to be able to use it, or I do all this, and I support my team with a lot of what I do, but like I don't know how to really run a camera. I literally just put the battery in, SD card in, settings on all auto, and that's it. Like, let's go. So that's it's funny when people are always asking like, what camera should I buy in the settings, and how do you get your GoPro? Like, I don't know. I just put it on the car and like hit record. Like there's nothing else to it. So yeah. You have to, because if you're doing it so much, nothing can stop you from your workflow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, amen. And it's so funny you say that, because the other night some kid comes up to me and he's like, my GoPro keeps shutting off, and I'm like, dude, good luck. I have no idea. I have like athletes. Literally, oh God, the USA bobsled team. Total side note, USA bobsled team. They're like not far from where we keep the shop in New York, and I was asking them. I was
Yep.
like, yo, and they're like, yeah, good luck. And I'm like, okay, so there's no good solid solution. So like the GoPros, they're shutting off, and like Tanner, over the summer, I think I have, because at times there will be three of like my dad, my brother, my husband, or my nephew, like all three racing at once. So like I need 6 GoPros, right? Because I do the
Yeah.
front and back. And so one camera's not working, and I'm like, I had an ongoing notes list of like camera A shut off at this time, but could it be the battery? Could it be the SD?
Yeah.
But it just got hot.
That's a complete nightmare. That is, I live that too. Luckily, I don't have as much of that, but I've kind of just.
Are you enjoying this episode, want even more, or want a closer connection to the DTU fam? Join us over in Club DTU, where you'll receive early access to all of our podcasts, live race day updates, exclusive content, special merchandise, discounts, a community chat, personal recognition, and so much more. All inside one place, Club DTU.
Originally, the GoPros were a main thing for me, and now they're more of a side. And I just like, it's really important someone's getting this, because I mean, that happening can ruin an entire video, and then it's like you're trying to like talk people through what happened, and yeah, so that's a complete nightmare in itself. And yeah, what I've kind of found, and this is, I guess, like, and I could be wrong, but my secret to everyone is actually the GoPro Hero 9 is the best GoPro that you can have. In my personal opinion, I had a Hero 9, and it would record nonstop, no matter what, till the day it died, until it eventually flew off my car in a crash, and now it's gone. So, but I'm going back trying to order more of them. And so like, yeah, you have to, that's a big part of what we do on the extra stuff, is like, you have to have good onboard cameras that don't get covered by mud anyway. You do all that work, and then first lap, some guy drives to a puddle in front of you and it's over anyway. But yeah, just and yeah, what's funny too about hearing all this is, like I said, it's relatable for you. This is so relatable for like, I like, and this is stuff that no one talks about, because it's just not many people's world.
And it's so funny because you're like, yeah, like I'm watching your video, like one of your most recent videos, and now knowing, Tanner, how long ago this video was, I don't know. But I'm watching you with the 360 and I'm like, oh, dude, I tried that. Listen, I tried the 360 a few years ago. I put it on the car and I was like, it's so badass. And then you go to edit it and I'm like, this takes too much time.
Yeah.
I
No,
was like, this,
yeah, and I stopped and I put it on the car a little bit. I need to, I still been, I got behind, so I haven't got a case for it yet. And I put it on the car one time without a case, and I was like, all right, that's a lot. It's way too risky. But I've been using it for all the shots outside the car. I'm like, all right, I can figure this out, and it's okay. But yeah, when you're trying to actually edit the entire race with it, people don't realize how much of a mess that thing is because basically, you don't have to do anything special when you're recording it. But like you said, it's all in the editing. So, and yeah, that's very, very difficult. But I try to find cool gadgets like that and stuff. Try to make my videos look different if I can, because I do think that it can add a lot. But then, like you said, there's always a catch. There's always a catch to it.
yeah. Speaking of, so ironically enough, Tanner, I was talking with someone the other week and they mentioned, how much they appreciate like your full on explanation of things. And maybe it's because you're really good at talking, but I don't hate to say like you dumb stuff down, right? But you really help the fans and the viewers and the listeners really understand like what it is you're doing, why they run a part of the track up here, why you prep your tires, how you dude, how do you start a sprint car? What the race receiver is. I've been seeing you do this stuff, and I think it's brilliant. But like, what is your theory behind doing that?
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I always just try to, for me, it's just like I said, that's all that stuff is actually just what's going through my head. And so I just try to like, basically from up here to here, a lot of times. And like I said, that's just kind of the stuff that, like we mentioned, like people don't see, or, I don't know how many times after the races I have fans come up to me and they'll just say like the most random thing about how people are going around the track. Like, man, the track looked really fast and wide open tonight. And it's like, well, no, it was dead slick out there. It's blowing dust, or or people, the second the track gets a little shiny, people are like, man, it's rubber down, like, so people just don't, like I said, people don't really, they just don't necessarily know. So I think in my videos a lot of times I just kind of try to point that out. And when I say that too, it's not like necessarily I know everything. This is just kind of my perspective. If you were my friend and we were walking a racetrack, or we were looking at a car, or if I just had a friend that didn't know anything and he was asking me all these questions, like I just try to talk in my videos about stuff, like if that was the situation, and like I said, give people that insight. And I think it's really, really important too, because like I said, the more that people are clued into what they're doing, the more they get attached to it, and the more that they want to continue to stay involved. And like me, like I feel like I am like I'm either in or I'm out, in the sense of like in my life I'm either like super attention to detail with something that I'm like really attached to, like with what I do, or if I don't know nothing, I'm like, all right, I'm out in left field, like you guys got this. So I kind of, like I said, that's just kind of how I am with all my stuff. So it's just like, since I'm clued in, like I just want to give all the insight that I can. I think that's important too, like, because at the same time, and one thing I didn't realize is that, oh shoot, some of the younger people watch my videos to learn. And like I didn't think of that at all, that people were maybe studying in that sense, young kart racers or whatever, like just like I said, the difference in where the cushion's at, or what is the color change, or maybe if I'm talking about what I do with my feet to like try to make a little more grip or whatever. So all that stuff's really important. And I think too, it also makes the story interesting, so it kind of keeps it, because also in some ways in racing we are closed off. Like I'll never probably on my video be like, hey, we're doing this big setup change, or we're doing, so like the whole stuff I can talk about with the track, I think is another step below basic knowledge that I can bring in, because like I said, in dirt racing we're too closed off. I'm never gonna say like, hey, we're making this shock adjustment and we're changing this compression and rebound and this torsion bar, and we're kicking the wing this way to make the car act, like on a very basic level, maybe here and there you can catch it if you know what I'm saying. But you don't want to, you don't want to go there, and it sucks. Trust me, I would love to. I would love to, but then also, like I said, just the good teams don't do that. There's a reason. If you just got to keep your setup books, got to stay closed. But so yeah, so I feel like for me that's also another way I can kind of get people below that level without talking about some of the stuff that maybe as a team you don't want to, because you're not trying to give away anything you're doing.
Yeah, there's such a fine line, especially with what we do. Oh my God, such a fine line. Because it's like you want them to see everything, but not everything.
Exactly. No, absolutely. And sometimes like the only time I ever do too, like when we're go-kart racing, for example, like that's a lower, that's more of an amateur level of racing. So like if you watch some of those videos, I actually will try to talk about that stuff because like I said, I think it's super interesting when you can come in and be like, all right, we're gonna drop 2 pounds of air in the right rear to, give the car a little more side bite. It's gonna, make it more grip on entry. Like then people are watching like, wow, that's like amazing. Now they know that maybe dropping, or at least according to what Tanner's saying, dropping air in the right rear is going to make it tighter and more grip. But like I said, as you step up from anything that's not that, you don't want to be sharing, you don't want to share those secrets and stuff. Cause I mean, nowadays in racing, everyone's so close and so good. They pick up on stuff or, yeah, I don't have to explain that. Like I said, your setup books just got to stay closed, but it definitely it would be a cool thing to add to the videos. And there's a reason, like I said, no one's out there doing that because that wouldn't be beneficial for, parking your car in victory lane.
Yeah, so true. But I love that concept though of it's giving them that enough knowledge, because where else are they gonna find that stuff?
Yeah.
How else are they gonna learn what it looks like when the track rubber's down? Or, just for us, it's kind of basic stuff. But like I always preach is like we need to make a driver fan connection. People don't want to see cars race in circles anymore. They want to know and really like understand that driver and have that connection. And we get to give that to them, but then bring in like a little bit more technology to them and educating them. And I think it's genius. I really applaud you for that. I think that's great.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's one thing that dirt racing maybe is missing a little bit is having some of that connection. I know how I am. I mean, naturally, right? Just how we're built as humans, like we gravitate towards like-minded people, in what we do, and like that's obviously why dirt racing is such a tight community. But just even within that, like I said, from getting the fan to certain drivers, and like I said, a lot of times, these people don't even know what the person under the helmet looks like, or what their interests are and stuff. And so, like that's also another cool thing about this social media era. A little bit is like it kind of helps bridge some of that gap, because like sometimes on social we're not just posting about we're posting about racing. We keep it 95% about that, but I also do try to throw in some of my interests, and I don't have a lot because you're so into this, but still, whether it's food that we like or places we like to stop on the road, or a little clip like us at the amusement park. I don't know, we have an off day, like stuff like that. You just, because like I said, that kind of helps show my personality. But I think other drivers too, that's big for them because, like I said, naturally people want to gravitate towards good, kind, funny people. Like a good example, maybe when Dominic Scelzi, he's from out here on the West Coast, but fans really like him. He's not, he did race a lot on the national stage, but Dominic's just one of the funniest guys in the pits. But he shows that when he's on the mic, and he shows that on social media a little bit, whether it's on Facebook or whatever. But so anyway, drivers that do that, like it's a big deal because one, it's good for our sport, but like I said, then I mean, fans just like that because they want to know their drivers. When they don't feel like they know them or can relate to them, then that's when people start going the other way.
Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that because listen, if we had cameras running 24/7, I'd say right now I'd be fine with it, right? Like I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yes.
Yeah, like, but that's the thing is, I feel we need to show more than just the racing. Like we are human, we have other interests, and I love sharing that on like on our channel, on our social media at times, but sometimes literally Tanner, I'm like, I don't know if this would interest people. Like it has nothing to do with racing, but at the same time, there's people that are like they want more than the racing. So like
Yeah.
I'm sure you get this too. Is that you get people like you mentioned, you get kids or adults that are watching you wanting to learn, but then they want more in car. And then there's people over here that are like, I just want to hear what you have to say. I want to
Yep.
see what you're doing. I don't want the in car. And I'm over here like, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it everything I got.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's another tough balance. Like, like you said, because what happens too is you post stuff that's not really racing related, and then like all of a sudden nobody watches it. You're like, all right, well that, you got to stick to the racing stuff. But then there are people that want to see that mixed in, and then like I said, I think that kind of just humanizes you, which is what we all want. Even us as creators, is we watch other people, right? Like the people that we, like I said, gravitate towards are just people that we feel like we relate to, and you see them, like I said, act as if they're, they put their pants on the same way as us. And so, yeah, I think that's a big deal in dirt racing. I think that's also one thing, like I said, we still do have. And I think it kind of comes and goes in waves, but I feel like right now it's a little more on the up in the dirt racing world, having more of that, where like, for example, I look at NASCAR and like, nothing against NASCAR. I don't really watch, but also I don't really feel like I know any of those people, right? Like there's nothing, they're too far out in right field. Like, and don't get me wrong, they're awesome. They're amazing race car drivers. Like they've done well for themselves. They make a lot of money. They drive these awesome cars. I wish I could do that. But like at the same time, I don't feel like I could relate to them. Now these, like I said, other dirt guys, like, that are going up and down the road, haven't showered in 2 days probably because something happened on your toe, like whatever. And like I said, you're trying to just sell t-shirts and go race and finish a couple spots better. Like those are the people. Like I get it. I totally get it. I don't judge, and I'm pitted right there next to you at the racetrack. So
True. So true. So true. So at the very beginning, I jokingly mentioned, right, Tanner being the overnight YouTube success star over here. But again, it's been 8+ years. So while many people see where you're at now, nobody takes in consideration the in between, the hustle, the grind, the wins, the failures, trying this and being like, nope, that didn't work, or this thumbnail, or who God knows what. So I always like, Tanner, to close out my episode with some kind of like words of wisdom, some little like tidbit of advice. I mean, you've given us a lot already, so I don't know what you can possibly think of. But, what kind of advice would you leave, let's say, someone interested in really doing what we're doing?
yeah, so the best thing that I can say is you have to give yourself enough time. I think nowadays people want things to happen way, way, way too fast. Like I said, I'm a perfect example. Use the word overnight success. I hate when I don't like that, because I'm like, it's not that, but also, so like for me, like my goal is I want to get to 100,000 subscribers. When you get to 100,000, they give you like a little YouTube plaque. And I feel like the last 8 years, I've just been trying to get to that. Like I said, it's taken 8 years. It's probably going to take another year or two, at least, maybe more. I don't know. But anyway, and same goes for racing. Like I want to be the best race car driver I can be. I want to build our what was started as our own family operation, and now like we have some pretty good partnerships, and we got a good team, and we've ran well on a couple big stages, but we have a lot more to, we haven't won any national races yet, but we're on some moments it feels like we're really close. And so anyway, that takes a lot of time. We didn't just snap our fingers and get to this point, and we're not going to snap our fingers and get there tomorrow. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of times people really get caught up in that, once you fail a year or two, like then you're done. And that's just not necessarily the case. Like I said, anything you do takes a lot of time. And I think in today's day and age, we're probably groomed to, like I said, you got to make it happen right this moment or you're done. And trust me, I felt like that at times too. And, I felt like that a year or two ago, and maybe I felt that at times last year, and like, I'm still here. Right. And things have gotten better. So yeah, that's my main thing, especially to the young kids, is don't just get so caught up in always trying to move forward. Like just do what you're doing right now to the best of your ability. And like I said, I'm just as guilty of that. I'm constantly looking ahead at the future way too much. Like I need to be worried about what I'm doing right now today, and how I can make today the most successful. And so that's always my best advice. And, and like I said, just give yourself the amount of time, because if you're really building something that's, worth, what it is worth to you and what you want it to be, like, like I said, that, Rome was never built in a day. It takes years, and honestly, in some ways, decades. You got to give yourself, I would say, I feel like I've just now got to the point where like, all right, I've put in a lot of time to what I'm doing. Like now I have a whole nother, I would say 5 to 8 years to, where can I transition into phase 2 in a way? And it's crazy to think of it that way, but that's really the truth. And so, yeah, anything in this world, like I said, whether it's businesses, whether it's race teams, whether it's, and what people got, they it takes a significant amount of time. So you just got to ride the journey and the highs and the lows. And that's what I always just kind of tell my fans. Thank you for riding with me for the journey. And we don't know where we're heading. We have an idea. We got this North Star, but maybe we'll end up left or right or above or whatever. So it's really cool. So that's what I always say. And you just got to stay focused on what you're doing and do the best you can.
I love that. And I'm thinking in my head right now, Tanner, is when you get that cool 100K flag, we're gonna have to have you back on so you can show us.
Yeah, I know. Trust me. Yeah. And like I said, that's, yeah, I don't know. The whole thing that's when I started YouTube, that was kind of like, I don't know. I just thought it was so cool how you get a plaque. And of course, when you first started, you're like, I'm going to get that 1,000,001 here in a year. Like, I'm going to get there quick. And then you start doing, you're like, shoot, this is a lot harder than I thought. So, but yeah, no. So that's kind of, for me, I just thought that was cool only because I figured if I got there one day, then I felt like not my YouTube journey was complete, but like I had something that was like, all right, like that showed that would sum up the journey. And then whatever happened was there. But whether that happens or not, it was still really cool. But yeah, so that was just a cool thing YouTube offered. That's like the one way you can kind of get a trophy from them.
It better still exist by the time we get there. So we're gonna protest. So Tanner, okay. I mean, tell everyone like where they can find you, how they can find you on social media, all the like platforms obviously that you're on.
Yeah, so just basically any platform, Tanner Holmes or at Tanner Holmes 18. That's my number. So yeah, no, I just like I said, we try to post as much as we can and keep people in the loop. And like I said, whether things are going good or good, bad, I always say good, bad, and ugly. We'll show you. So and hopefully you're there just to watch the good. But yeah, so it's pretty cool. Very blessed. And no, thank you so much for having me on today.
Absolutely. Thank you for taking the time. It was such a pleasure. It was great getting to just talk about this stuff that not very many people get to talk about. So hopefully hopefully you guys enjoyed this as much as we did. And, Tanner, I look forward to seeing where the road takes you and when the heck you hit 100K. And I know it's not going to be long. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, for listening, whether you're listening or you're watching. We really do hope you enjoy this episode. And if you did, of course, screenshot this, share it on social media, tag us, let us know what you thought, and we will catch you right back here next week. And Tanner, again, thank you so much.